Aloha and welcome to this episode of Conservation Conversations Hawaii. I'm your host, Kuhea, and today we're very lucky to have Kathleen Bailey from the National Park Service who's joining us today. And not only is she a wildlife biologist, she's much more than that. She is a longtime friend that goes back to Hanabata days. And if you don't know what that is, you can Google it. It's there. I looked it up today. Welcome, Kathleen.
Aloha kuya. Thank you for having me. Hanabata days. Oh, yeah.
Isn't that right? Well, I pronounced it so people would know how to look at it. Hanabata.
Oh, that's
days,
true.
Right?
That's true.
Right. So that means, if you don't know, that we go back to literally, we were in the same kindergarten, first grade, K1-2 class. I don't remember all of our teachers, but I know we were in the same class that had 3 grades, kindergarten, first grade, and second grade, right?
Yeah, you're asking me to remember. That's the hardest question.
Yeah, well, you are a year older, so yeah, we were in Ka'ala Elementary School together, and those were the days. You remember when every Friday everybody wore aloha print clothing to school, Aloha Friday, and we also wore those very uncomfortable black shiny shoes with the white socks and the dresses. Do you remember that? I mean, I have a picture of us dressed this way, so there's proof.
And we had beautiful May days.
We did. And today kids can go to school in slippers and shorts, and we never did that. Lucky, But here we are, so many years later, and so we should just say we went to the best high school in Hawaii.
We did.
Which is Lelehua High School. And of course,
Of course.
A year ahead of me, not too much. And we also, tell us about or talk about the club that we were in together and really how we got to become friends.
Goodness. Yes. The high school hikers, Lelehua High School hikers, man, we had some adventures, didn't we?
We did. And that's where it really started for us.
Yep. Yeah, it did. Sort of. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember looking at, my sister is 8 years older than me, so I remember looking through her the yearbook, and that was the year 1976 when the hiking club started, I think. And I saw the picture, maybe right around there, maybe a couple of years before, and I saw that picture.
Old, yeah.
Not as old as you, but I remember seeing that picture, and I said, when I get to high school, this is the club I'm going to join.
Oh, I had no clue.
Yeah. And yeah, that definitely came to fruition. We had so many adventures visiting the neighbor islands and going hiking and camping and all of that good stuff.
Oh, yeah. And all that good stuff. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so that's where it started for you, right? And your interest in maybe becoming a biologist?
No.
Or no? Really? Okay,
no,
tell us the story.
Not at all. It started from my mother.
Oh, okay. Let's hear it.
Yeah. The Wahiawa Reservoir, we called it the river, and we lived just up the road from it. So we would walk down there all the time, and my mom would point out the trees and the snails. And I didn't know what is native and non-native, but I just learned to love nature. And from then, I remember in fifth grade at Ka'ala Elementary, we learned about ecology. And I went, I'm going to be an ecologist. That's when it started.
You were in the advanced classes because I don't remember hearing about ecology, but I knew I knew I wanted to be a forest ranger, but I don't think I said ecologist at that point yet.
Oh no. I was just the nerd that was paying attention.
Yeah. But it's funny that you mentioned the river and the reservoir, because really that's where it started for me too, was playing down there under the ironwood trees and pretending to be an archaeologist. And I just knew at that point I love nature, just like you, right? We love being outside and exploring.
Yeah, we're lucky enough to have grown up in Wahiawa, where we go back there now and it's like, ooh, it's city, but it had enough nature around us.
Right.
So, we had the opportunity.
It didn't have to be the beautiful native forest at Haleakala
No.
National Park to be inspiring, right?
Right.
We have to give a shout out to our teachers and mentors at that time, Mr. Hamada and Mr. Keene, who were the ones who kind of sacrificed their personal life to take kids like us out
Yeah.
and all these trips and hikes and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're long retired, but I still keep in touch with Mr. Keene. Hi, Mr. Keene. He's,
Hi, Mr. King.
yeah, I still can't
Yeah.
call him by a first name, even though he always says, call me by my first name. He'll always be Mr. Keene to me. So,
Right.
yeah,
And yeah, and we pray for Mr. Hamada.
yes, and Mrs.
Yeah.
Hamada,
So
right,
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So after high school, you went on to college. Tell us about that. Where you went and what you studied.
Okay. So yeah, after actually I'm going to tell you what happened right after high school is
Okay.
that summer after I graduated. I think that's the year we went to Haleakala for spring break with the high school hikers, and we met Ron Nagata then. And I don't know what happened, but then that summer, Mr. Hamada called me and said, "Hey, Kathleen, Ron Nagata is looking for someone to work there to be um, to work at Haleakala." Oh, but previous to that, there was the Sierra Club, right? So the
Right,
Sierra
right.
Club had a couple service trips. So I went on actually that summer, right after high school, I went on a service trip. Where did we go? Oh, we built the fence in Copal Gap
Oh,
at
okay.
Haleakala.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I've been at Haleakala for two changes, two 20-year terms of the fence.
Yeah, you've spent most of your adult life at Haleakala
Right,
National Park.
right. And then that same summer, right after high school, we did another service trip to Hawaii volcanoes, and that's when it all started. I went to college at Pacific University, and in the summers, I would come home and work at the national park. And after Pacific University, after my first year, they stopped my major, so I transferred to Oregon State,
Well,
and then graduated from there.
I gotta tell you, I don't know if I told you this before, but you were really for us the undergraduates in the hiking club. I mean, you were really one of our first conservation heroes because you were the one who went on to go to college and study biology, and then to work in the national park and do all these amazing things that we kind of only dreamed about at that point. And I think at the time that we were entertaining conservation as a career, I don't think there were a lot of opportunities for women then,
No,
or
oh
even
gosh,
for
no.
just kind of local kids. But you were the one who kind of broke through,
Oh
those
my God.
barriers, either real or conceived or perceived, and really you were doing it, and so we looked up to you for that.
Wow, that's interesting that you say that because I never, ever, ever thought that. It was strange. No, not strange. It was unfortunate that you're right. There weren't many women, let alone local people,
Right.
in the field, and it wasn't called conservation
Exactly.
back
I say
then.
that all the time too. We did
Right?
not
It
know
wasn't.
this as conservation.
We don't know what it was.
Right.
We didn't know what it was.
So the
And in
year,
fact,
let's
yeah.
let's put a time to this. This was the early 80s. Yeah.
Hmm.
Around 1980, 384, a little bit
Right.
before and after. So you're right.
Right. And what was it? Wasn't it? Is it Title IX, Patsy Mink, the equality for women?
Yeah.
And that was only in 1978. So that's only a few years before that.
Right.
So women, when we were growing up, I mean, I don't know if you remember, we couldn't even go into the weight room because we were girls.
Oh,
Remember?
I never tried to go in the weight room, so I don't
Oh,
know.
because we tried to work out for soccer and they're like, oh no, girls can't go into the weight room.
Yeah, I was not an athlete. I know you were. You did many sports, but I was never an athlete.
Hmm. Oh,
I was in the hiking club. That was my life in high school, was the hiking club. And I went on to become the president of that club, and because
that's right.
that's how much I was into it, and how much I was enjoying that, and how it really helped kind of shaped my life. But even when I started doing environmental education, it wasn't even called environmental education at that point. So,
No, I don't know what we called. There was nothing. It wasn't called anything. I
right.
don't think. And so maybe it was called environmental science. We don't know. But I know that when I transferred from Pacific University and I went to Oregon State, I bounced back and forth between programs because they said, well, what do you want to do? I said, I don't know. I just want to help my work. And they said, well, what do you do at work? I go, I don't know. I build fences. I keep out animals. They go, oh, maybe that's rangeland resources. I go, no, no. I kind of want to work with the animals. And they go, okay. So I bounce back. Oh, why don't you try wildlife science? Okay. So I talked about wildlife science, and then they go, oh, goats? Well, try go back to rangeland. And it was this whole weird concept, especially on the mainland, because they weren't used to non-native versus native, right? So
Interesting.
anyway, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry, I
and
probably went
definitely
on too
when
long.
no, and when you were going to college and taking courses, I'm sure you didn't get to learn about Hawaii examples and the Hawaii ecosystems and species, right?
Well, no. But the professor that I hooked up with had done mongoose work and work in the Galapagos.
Oh,
So he
okay.
knew about Hawaii. And he said, oh, you're going to graduate and you're going to come back and you're going to do your master's thesis and we're going to get rid of all the mongooses in Hawaii. That didn't happen.
Oh, that's still an ongoing task, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
So,
wow. Wow. Well, just to go back to the town that we grew up in for a little bit, because I think, it's everybody thinks where they grew up is special. But, I don't think that we're any different. I think, Wahiawa town on the island
yep.
of Oahu is a pretty special place. I mean, it's surrounded by a lot of military bases. And so I think that was played into getting to meet a lot of different people from different walks of life and making friends and really kind of accepting a diverse community.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Because I don't think many people had the opportunity to interact at that time or even now with people straight from the mainland that grew up on the mainland and now they're integrated with us in classrooms.
Mm-hmm.
And you know to for them I give them credit because it's hard to be immersed into the local culture.
Right. But being
But
outdoors and going camping, that was a great way to bond with
I
people.
yeah, I think there was a commonality there, right? You just go out and you just be
Mm-hmm.
out
Hmm.
out
Yeah.
in nature.
Right.
And for us, Waihawa, I mean, what we did hikes right around Waihawa, right?
We did hikes everywhere. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. And we used to go up to the stream, right?
Yeah, that was one of our practice hikes, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. So many good memories. But I actually have some trivia questions that I'm going to
Ah,
ask you. And it's not a test, just a little bit trivia. See if you can answer these questions. And I even have a little prop here. So every time you get an answer right, you'll hear this.
oh my gosh. I can get them all wrong, then gonna be quiet.
No, no, I have a different sound if you get the answer wrong. Okay, you ready?
I hope it's not a whoopee cushion.
No. Okay, and this is called You're from Wahiawa if.
Oh
Okay,
my
all
gosh.
right. Now, okay, so first question.
Wait, stop. I never lived there for 900,000 years, okay?
Me
Okay,
too. Me
just to
too.
let you know. Just to let you know.
It's all inside. It's not up here. It's in here. Okay, first question. In 1904,
Oh,
Wahiawa was
I was
known.
8 years old. No.
Waiwa was known as the City of Pines because of this crop that was considered the world hub for this fruit.
Is it pine trees? No, it's pineapple.
I just learned this because I was doing some research today, and I didn't even know that we're called the City of Pines. But I don't know how long that lasted. But yes, we had pineapple fields all around, and smelled the fields and the fertilizer, and we had all those tiny little pineapple bugs flying around everywhere. Okay, next question. In the early 1990s, piranha was found in this body of water.
Piranha? Really? They found piranha?
Yes. Unfortunately, I think they got them all out. I hope they did.
Oh my gosh. I wasn't there in the 90s already.
Yeah. Can you imagine?
Somebody did that,
Yeah.
I bet it was my brother. No.
Call him up right now.
Or at least one of my classmates.
So, okay, next question. They are home to the famous chocolate cream pie.
Oh, that means I win.
You win a chocolate cream pie.
I do. Was that Sunnyside?
You're doing really well.
Gosh.
See, you can take the girl out of the town, but the town is still in the girl.
Yeah, is Sunnyside still there?
They just reopened, from what I understand. So I'm definitely gonna go and have some chocolate cream pie when I get there next.
Yeah.
Okay, next question. This school calls themselves Junior Mules.
Is there? I don't know.
Take a guess.
Not Waihawa Intermediate.
No.
I don't know.
Waihawa
I never heard
Intermediate,
that.
which is now Waihawa
Is
Middle
the
School.
Lancers.
Lancers. You know why?
Junior Mules.
You know why? This was after we left.
Sosi. I don't know. What is that?
Ka'ala Elementary School. Oh, no, Ka'ala Elementary School. So for that, you get a...
No, okay. Ka'ala Elementary School. I was on the student council.
That's what you get.
I'm going to tell you, okay? I'm going to tell you. We had to vote for our mascot, and we sat around and we said Cougars.
Cougars?
We were Ka'ala Cougars. See, I know I'm from Waihawa.
Oh, yes. You're right. I remember that now.
So your thing.
Okay, pat yourself on the back. At some point, they started to call themselves the Junior Mules. And I have 2 grandkids that go to that school now, if you can believe that. Yeah. So that's how I know the answer to that.
Tell them at one time, in Tutu's days, we was called the Cougars.
I think they would prefer Cougars. Maybe they can get it changed.
Probably, yeah.
Okay, next question. In 1974, the first restaurant of this fast food chain was built and was the launching point for many other chains to follow.
We were so excited. It was right by my house, McDonald's.
Yes! Oh my God. That's right. Before that, we had to drive to the next town over, which is now like 3 towns over.
Oh, I remember driving all over. I don't know where it was. And we saw the M and it ended up being Mauna Loa or something. And we're like, oh, there's McDonald's.
Yeah, that used to be a treat. Right now we're like, no, I can't do it. But
yeah, and 25 cents older. Big Macs. Oh, geez.
Okay, next question. 2 more. This should be very easy. She is the much feared resident of the Waihawa Gulch.
The green lady gonna get you.
Yeah.
My goodness.
I think she's still there.
She's still there. Oh, Auntie must be old already. Huh?
I don't know. Maybe she doesn't age because the story still goes around. Okay, last question. In 1910, this farm would deliver milk, cream, and eggs by horse-drawn buggy to customers in Schofield Barracks. But in 1951, they expanded their business and began to focus on these.
On what?
On these.
Oh, eggs. That's
Yes.
Peterson's.
Peterson
I don't know
Farm.
if they're still going. Yeah.
They are, but they're called Peterson Upland Farm.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I saw Kathy the other.
Oh, you
She
did.
came over.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. Awesome. Well,
yeah.
everybody in Wahiawa knows Peterson Farm. And
Mm-hmm.
drive up and get your your cartons of eggs,
Your
fresh
eggs.
eggs. Yes. I especially love the little ones that had no yolk in them.
Oh,
You could get a whole tray for 25 cents or something crazy like that. But you passed. Very good.
thank you, thank you, thank you.
So, so let's get back to you and oh, you got some applause. So, okay, so trouncing around Lake Wilson, the river, and sparking your interest in your mom, influencing that, and the hiking club, and eventually you became a wildlife biologist, and
Mm-hmm,
today you are the manager of that
mm-hmm,
program now. So tell us a
mm-hmm.
little bit more about what your program does. What kind of wildlife do people see at Haleakala
Yes.
National Park?
Yeah, so we focus on the native wildlife, and as most people know, native wildlife is mostly birds. When I came back, my task was to start the program, and I didn't want to work with birds. They're so hard to see. They fly so fast. And then my boss said, "No, no, 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 no. You have to work with the nene." I went, "Oh, they're such a pain. They're a nuisance." But the more I worked with those animals, they our native wildlife is so very special. There's 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 no wildlife like our native wildlife. Obviously, the honey creepers are the evolution of the honey creeper is comparable to those Darwin finches, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so that's what we do, and most of the work is controlling non-native predators. Unfortunately,
No, you are responsible for protection of endangered species, endangered
hmm
birds, and a lot of people may not be aware of the work that's involved in doing that. How do you
yeah.
save a species that is endangered? Like Nene, for instance, at one point in its history was down to 25 birds, I believe, that were left. And now we
hmm
probably have a couple thousand, I would say.
Yeah,
Is
Nene
that,
just got downlisted actually.
oh, no way. That's
And I'm
awesome.
supposed to give a talk at the conservation conference, but I don't know if I can prepare one, so I might just do the poster.
Oh, that's exciting though, because they've been endangered since when? What year was that? This
since
is kind of
since
trivia.
the year of the Endangered Species Act, so since 1969, right?
Long time.
Um, but they were extirpated from Maui. They were completely absent. There was only, like you said, handful left on the Big Island, and to bring a species out of extinction is very difficult. There's not one person that can do it by themselves. No, absolutely not. There's not even one organization or one agency that can do it by themselves. It it takes almost the entire world. And I say that because with the nene, for example, the biologists back then learned, hey, we can propagate, which means make more babies of nene in
Mm-hmm.
captivity. And so there was an Englishman, Sir Peter Scott, who came here and he fell in love with the nene, and he took them back to England and propagated nene there. So a lot of the original flock that came back to restart populations here were from England. So, when I say it takes the world, it really takes the world. And we're kind of dealing with that with right now, the Maui parrotbill, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So is that because
And
that's where the knowledge was at the time, was in England for doing any kind of science around propagation?
it could be, I don't know. Right now, it is. We with I'm going to take, for example, the Maui parrotbill. The propagation, the aviculturists here have been trying to propagate them for over 15 years, and they haven't been able to successfully do that. So this species is now, I think, estimated at less than 200. And it's a little bit more difficult to do little forest birds, and it's different. So one thing about bringing back endangered species is really knowing about the species. And to know about the species, you have to go live with them, pretty much.
Right.
Right.
Learning their
So
behaviors, habits.
not only that, is being in their environment and then trying to figure out, okay, in this environment, what really can we do? Really, that won't cost a lot of money, because it costs money and we don't have money in conservation.
Right.
We don't have money.
It's a very small
So,
pot that a lot of people are competing for.
right, right.
So you mentioned propagation is one
hmm
way, and controlling predators. So what kind of predators are we talking about?
Oh, so let's back up. The main thing, and so I don't know if I'm sorry, I didn't listen to all of the other podcasts, but do if people already know that Hawaii has the most endangered species in the world.
We've mentioned it, but it's something that's always worth mentioning again and again and again. I think
Right.
keeping it
And
top of mind.
the biggest reason is because of habitat loss. And when I say habitat loss, that's, when the land gets changed because of people moving in and wanting to make it how they want it.
Right.
And uh, what, so what happens is they start to introduce species, and introduce species such as cats, dogs, and those are now brings us to the predator control. So we have to do habitat management, and in that big picture of habitat management becomes controlling animals to maintain a specific type of habitat, and controlling invasive plant species, and also, believe it or not, controlling invasive um, pest species, insect species too. That's one of the things that the greater community is working on for parabills, because we're trying to control mosquitoes that transmit avian malaria.
Right.
So it's very difficult, and the work is never ended,
Mm-hmm.
never ever ended.
Right. And so, along with even predators like cats, there are diseases that come along with that impact
Right, right,
all kinds of animals, not just birds, but certainly the forest birds.
right, right. So diseases, and there are some diseases that can be transmitted to humans as well. Feral cats can harbor toxoplasmosis, and it's been found that toxoplasmosis harms seals, the native seals, but also can be transmitted to people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
very scary. Very scary
it
stuff. I
is.
don't know what the incidence of people being affected by it are, but I would sure love to know and find out from somebody just how
hmm
prevalent this is in our society, because, feral cats are everywhere. And of course, you have birds
Yeah.
everywhere.
The person that's been doing most of the wildlife disease work in Hawaii is Terry Work. Do you know Terry Work?
No, I don't.
Oh my gosh, Dr. Terry Work, he is fantastic. He would be great to have on this podcast.
Yeah.
He's been working since the early 90s on wildlife diseases
And he's here in
in
Hawaii?
Hawaii. Yeah, specifically.
Wow.
He's on Oahu. He's with USGS National Wildlife Health Center.
Okay, well, I would appreciate an introduction.
Oh, yeah. Yep, I will. And he's going to go, oh my God, Kathleen, what are you doing?
Okay, so I'm really glad that you kind of took us back to build a foundation about what is endangering these native species to begin with. So we've got the habitat loss, we've got predation, we've got disease. Um, in some cases, we have wildfire that also can destroy good habitat, which is slow to come back. Um, what else do we have? What else do you have to
We have
contend with?
climate change. We have climate
Yes,
change.
big one.
So with climate change, you know, it the climate has always been changing, right?
Yes.
Everybody's seen Ice Age, and then Ice Age the dinosaur, and then what is it? Ice Age the collision course, and all that, right? So we've always had climate change, but it's the effects of climate changes are now being exacerbated because of people.
Right. It's very true. Climate change is a natural process. It has always happened, but you're right. I mean, we've just kind of sped that whole process up, which is causing that imbalance.
Well, and not only that, so with the process of climate change, then let's compile all the invasive species that come on it. Now, the reason why species, and let's take, for example, plants, are invasive, it's because they love the climate here. Wherever they were from, the climate wasn't as good. The climate is good here. We can take plants, we can take goats, deer. Oh, and and with this warming of climate, at Haleakala, we have elevation on our side because it's colder there.
Mm-hmm.
So it keeps a lot of species at bay. But the warmer and warmer and warmer it gets, the
Right.
higher and higher and higher these
Mosquitoes
species
are
go.
being able to go
Right.
higher and higher and higher too.
Right.
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 And, working in a national park where there are lots of visitors who come to look at the scenery, to go hiking and recreate and camp and all of that. So there's that kind of added challenge, right, with people who are maybe speeding through the park or feeding the nene, feeding animals. So let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So, well, Kuhea, that's one beauty about the Park Service is the Park Service allows people. And I say that because it's very, very important for myself as a person that's trying to manage ecosystems. I have to include people. I have to include behaviors. If I don't, then I won't be able to come up with a good plan for managing. And so, for example, you said feeding. Yeah, we have visitors that come in that, they see a nene, and the nene are so very friendly. They're wild, but they're very friendly, and they want to feed them, right? That's our natural
Right.
social instinct.
Because we think we're caring for the animals if we give them
Right,
food.
right. And of course, to make a connection, a lot of these people never even, they live in an apartment. They don't even know a bird. And so to have a bird just come walk up to them, they think probably, they're probably thinking, oh, I have the touch. It's something that just they feel so special. So it's trying to manage that as well. And people are I don't want to say people are difficult to manage. It's just very challenging because not everybody thinks like me. And not everybody thinks like all the people that I work with or all the people that are in this field. And so we have to learn the other people that don't see birds every day, don't even get to see sky. Some people live in cities, and try to put that lens on to understand where they're coming from too.
Right. So this is where the interpretive rangers come into play, and actually everybody who works in the park, right, becomes the educator and models what you want to see, and
right. And oh, go ahead.
No, if we can, sort of educate people that, respecting and caring for these wild animals means that we respect their space and we don't feed them food that's not good for them, and we don't do things that change their natural behavior. So if we can understand those things, I think,
Right.
people could protect what they care about more.
And it's not just the people that work in the field. Whenever I give talks to schools or whatever, the big thing I tell people when they ask what can we do to help is go talk story, go learn what you just learned today about things, because there's no way, again, as I said, one organization or one person can do it all. We need the world's help.
Right.
And go ahead.
So excited to talk to you. We're gonna be talking over each other.
I know.
But,
La, la, la.
but I remember, I think this when I was working with Pauline Sato and the Hawai'i program, and we brought over some interns from Oahu, and we met up with you. And
Right.
one of the exercises that you had us do was get on our hands and knees and inspect the grass and really start to collect some data on.
I did.
Yes, you did. It was really eye opening and fun too, to look at the grass and kind of the percentage of grass that had been clipped by the nene, so where they were feeding, but it really makes you think differently about your behavior, and walking on that grass, you're walking on their food, and you want to be respectful of that. And so it kind of really changes your whole mindset of what's around you.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point about respecting the animal. And so if we can have a human connection. For example, saying, wow, did you know that the nene are eating this grass and we're stepping all over it? What if somebody stepped on your food?
Right.
Ew.
Right. Or maybe I won't collect every single ohela berry I see to make, some dessert out of it, because I need to save some for the nene.
Right. But why? Right. So the biggest question is why? Why? I don't know. Once I'm gone, the bird means nothing to me.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the biggest, most challenging question we have with people who are not, nature is not part of their life. Why is it important? They're not helping them turn on a cell phone. They're not helping get a computer going. Why? And the best reason I've heard is from of my very wise Native Hawaiian husband, and he says because the species identifies the culture. And in Hawaii, as you know, Native Hawaiians, as with I would say all indigenous people. I don't know indigenous cultures. That's not my field, but just knowing indigenous cultures depended on the resource. And so when a culture depends on a resource for whatever it may be, whether it is depending on the nene because that was a major food source, or depending on the iwa to let them know when it was time to go, a storm was coming, or or depending on the watching the wheelie wheelie bloom to know that the sharks are in the water, things like that. That it was a connection, and when those cues are not there, there's no culture.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Yes, I would definitely love to get your husband on this show, and because I know he has so much knowledge to share too. But yeah, and thanks for making that connection too. The other thing I was thinking about is even if a human, has a hard time with that concept about why they should respect the home and food source of an animal, if you just think about it, even on a human level, most of us would never enter into someone's home and go into their refrigerator and eat all their food and sleep in their bed and leave behind a mess. I think we instinctively know to be more respectful of that. So it really is no different when you're talking about resources. The same thought process should be there for that too.
And there's also an energetic
do tell.
connection. There is. So I don't know, you go up to Haleakala, everybody goes up to Haleakala and they go, oh, and you feel that undescribable feeling. That's a spiritual, energetic connection. And that is something that is intangible that people have with species in a certain area or ecosystems. That's what, the biology terms, ecosystems and species. But there's a reason why in nature these species, these environments, these rock formations are here. It's because there's a greater energy of the universe, and it that energy gets connected when things are in place. It's like a puzzle, or it's like the electronics in a computer. Everything's connected. The energy is flowing. If something goes off, bam, the computer shuts down. Or in a car, fuse blows. Same thing in nature. If a fuse blows, if a species gone, that part of the system and energy is gone.
Right. And that's
anyway.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point about the energetic aspect of it. And it's not something that you can really describe. I mean, you just feel it when you're there.
Right.
In a lot of these sacred places, and sacred places are everywhere,
Right.
And so no matter where you are, it kind of behooves you to be on your best behavior. And
right. And most people in my field won't even speak of this. Because why? Because it's not science. It's bigger.
Mm-hmm.
It's not,
can't be
it's bigger than that. No, it can't be quantified. The more and more, I think, because it's hard to be in conservation when we see species go extinct.
Yeah.
And what keeps me going, what keeps me doing this is that whole big, deep connection.
Mm-hmm. For the people who do not work in conservation, it doesn't mean that they don't or
Right.
can't have a connection. But this is also the beauty of environmental education and outreach is it's very hard to get people to understand this feeling, and unless they have a chance to be out there and see how these animals behave, see the resources that are important to them because they're watching them feed off of that ohelo berry tree or that bush, and understanding their behavior and understanding their lives and making those connections for themselves. That's really important.
Yeah.
Because you can only lecture to people for so long. They have to experience these and feel these things for themselves to really understand. And that's why, like as you said, a national park is important because it allows people in to be among the resources and make their own connections.
And you bring up a good point, to make that connection. And it's more than just an observation. It is a connection on an emotional level. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. Now your Hanabata Days friend got a little bit loony there.
No, I think more and more people today, because of, of course there are upsides and there's downsides to ecotourism, this thing we call ecotourism. But certainly one of the upsides is allowing people and helping people to make those connections, which hopefully in turn, results in some kind of action on their part to be more supportive in some way. But so go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
And to do it not just for to have a sense of ownership to do it. That I need to do this for me too.
Right. When you have a sense of ownership, nobody has to tell you to do the right thing. You just do. Yeah.
Right.
So, speaking of how many people have to do this work, tell us about your team. I know it's not a giant team, but tell us about your team and how much of this, like how big is the park and what you have to manage within that.
Okay. So my team, the endangered wildlife team, and we go out, observe birds, capture predators. We have over 1,000 traps that we need to check at least once a week. We have 3 people permanently. And then we have we have maybe up to 4 more that come and go, either through internships or temporary positions. So there's not many people
you could use a lot more.
Yeah, we could use a lot more, but it is not for everybody. And so, a lot of people, they come and they go, oh, I want to go, Auntie, I want to go out with you. Please, please, please. Well, you guys know you got to shishi the bushes, yeah? Even when it's that time, girls.
Yeah.
And it's difficult. And, you have to carry your lunch on your back, by the way. Oh, and all of your water that you're going to drink today.
And you might not have cell phone reception everywhere you go.
You won't have cell phone reception, and you won't be able to play your music, by the way, very loudly. because it's a wilderness area.
Right.
And you have to walk for several hours during the day. Oh, wait, and you will not see a car.
And you have to know how to use equipment to find your way around, not get
Right,
lost.
right. So, it's not for everybody.
Right. It's not, definitely not. Very hardcore work. I've seen you folks at work, and you have to be pretty hardcore and in shape. And being able to work at different elevations and it could be really sunny and hot, and the next moment it's like sheeting rain and kind of
Right.
miserable.
It's very character building, isn't it, Kuhea?
It is, but yet your immediate staff has been with you for quite a long time.
Yeah, and we're getting older, and I gotta admit that the job does take a toll. I my back is gone. My husband's back is gone. Our knees are gone from all the hiking.
Hmm.
It takes a toll on the body.
Yeah. So what are you folks doing, or have you? Do you feel like there's so many internship programs now compared to when we were starting out, and so do you
Mhm.
feel like that has done a good job of feeding some good candidates for job openings, and are they coming in prepared, or tell us about that?
It's a very different generation that we're dealing with as far as programs and interns. I still have the same influx of interns. The program that you had when you were up there, that was great. I I I was like, oh my God, there's a pot of interns. I've had interns since the 80s, but I would have one. I had a consistent stream of one.
Right.
One. So, that opportunity is there, but a lot of the people, and we tell this to our daughters, they don't have the opportunities to even be exposed.
Hmm.
I know at the schools they're trying, there's a new, what is the buzzword now? It's called sustainability.
Yep, that's a big one.
Right, right.
That's
When we were
yes.
when we were in school, it was conservation. Was well after we graduated,
Yeah, it wasn't
and now,
conservation. I don't even remember
yeah,
what it was.
no.
It,
But then when I was in college, and just after in the 90s, it was conservation, and now it's called sustainability. Whatever it is, it's working the land and being part of the land and being in the elements. And it, a lot of y- young people come to us eyes wide open, wanting to do this, and then get exposed because it sounds so awesome, right? Being
hmm.
in nature, and it's so beautiful. Well, it's not beautiful when it's pouring rain and the wind is 50 miles an hour and it's 15 degrees with the wind chill and it's raining. And so it's a mindset, and it is, you know, Tim and I were just talking about this. It's it's up to us to inspire, right?
Hmm.
And to see the positive parts of what we do and why we do it, because it's hard. It is hard.
Yeah, you're really into it, and this is what you were meant to do when you can be exposed to all of those different elements and even getting lost. I mean, there are been times when I've been with people and we've gotten lost. We were just talking about the other day, and just kind of taking it all in. Like, this is a part of it. This is what I signed up for, and nobody
Right,
owes me anything because I'm in a bad situation. It's about being prepared and knowing what you're doing
right,
and always learning.
right. But just because someone doesn't want to go out in the field doesn't mean they can't be, as you said, an educator,
Hmm.
right? To
Absolutely.
expose people to it.
There's
They
a
don't have to do
niche.
this.
There,
Yes,
there's a niche for
there's a niche
everybody.
for everybody. You are absolutely right. So, was that your
Yeah.
ding? That time's up.
No, no. But I wanted to ask you this because you have kids, and my kids are all grown up now, and they
Mm-hmm.
they have their own kids. But I remember, I tried to take them out with me in the field every chance that I could get. and expose them to the
Right.
outdoors. And so they would be working alongside these college age, high school age interns. And at one point, my oldest, he was probably only 9 or 10. And he said,
Oh.
Mom, I'm really not into that nature thing. And man, that broke my heart. But, all
Oh.
of those experiences, though, did something, though, because I know he has respect for the ocean and the mountains. He does do other recreational things in the mountains. And I know he has that respect because of what he's been exposed to. And it's okay if he doesn't want to be a conservationist. But I know it's in them, deep in there. And you have kids of your own, and so do they have an interest in conservation at all?
No. No, but they're not. They don't need to. They don't need to. We're fortunate enough that we have land here, um, that we have to work. It's very raw, hard work, and for us, it's okay that they're not into the profession of conservation because, as you said, it's in them. Um, just bigger than just conservation. It's now, I guess, that buzzword sustainability, being able to recognize the land, work the land, know when to plant, when not to plant, well, when to even go out or not to go out and
Mm-hmm.
on the mountain and things like that. So it is as you said, we instill it in people, and there's a niche. So my older one wants to become a nurse, and it's because of her experiences, but she still comes out and helps us. And
Right.
my other one wants to be a veterinarian, only for dogs.
Will she have that choice?
Hmm, no. So, you know, it's. I think it's an upbringing.
Yeah.
So, like you said, exposing your son, even if he doesn't want to go in the field, it's an upbringing. And like you said, if they go to the beach and they enjoy the beach, it's part of your upbringing.
Right. Right. For me, it was Lake Wilson. For them, it was the ocean. And
Right.
yeah, yeah. However way they get it, if they kind of get what being an ethical, I don't know,
Hmm.
outdoors person is, that's good enough for me.
And
Yeah, you don't have to be a paid conservationist to do good things.
that's you bring up that word outdoors. How many people don't leave a room?
Hmm.
So to have that, or don't even have an outdoor area to go to.
Right. Well, fortunately, there are places like national parks. So if people want to
Yeah.
go, they can.
Well, some people inner city, I think
Yeah.
that are they have other issues
Hmm.
and they can't get out. And so, one time they may come out. We had a group come. It was inner city kids, and I think that was the first time they stepped out of the city.
Yeah.
And it was, it was for some people they get scared. They get
Hmm.
scared of nature.
Hmm. Hmm. And but
So
fear can be a little healthy too, because my brother Jay, you are classmates, the two of you, and when he was in college on the mainland, and he brought some friends home for the holidays, you know, took them to the beach, and that was the first time that some of them had ever seen the ocean. And so when you have a little bit of fear, it's good, because that might save your life, rather than, ooh, it
right,
looks like a lake except it's blue, so I'm just going to jump in. And you don't know about
right,
currents and waves and undertows and things like that.
right.
So whenever you are going to spend time outdoors, whether you work outdoors or you're just recreating, I think a little bit of fear is good, because that feeds your need to be educated about how to be prepared.
Yeah,
So I know I'm a
yeah,
really big, and you're a parent too, so you understand it. Safety is always a
right,
big thing, right? You can never tell our kids enough about being safe
right.
until they're super tired of hearing it.
I know, Mom. I got it.
Yeah, yeah. My son, my younger son, told me one day, he said, "Why do you worry so much?" But he's a parent now, so I think he's gonna get
Oh,
it. Yeah. Hey, so tell us about that you have sort of seasons that for the nene, for the uau.
Hmm.
So tell us what this is now, spring. So what are we entering into, and what kinds of things are going to be happening with wildlife at the park?
Oh, all kinds of stuff. So spring is actually, as the mainland spring is, it's breeding season. It's breeding season for the forest birds. It's actually for Nene, they're just emerging from their nesting season, so they're hiding right now, and the babies are getting bigger, and they're going to start to flock in the summer, and the uau are starting to nest. So, we're busy, busy, busy. Spring is a very busy time. And with that, not just the native species, but the non-native animals.
You've come up with some, really creative ways to monitor activity, like for the uau. And I
Okay.
know toothpicks is one of the tools that you've used. And tell us about that and any other creative things that you've done over the years or over your, long career now.
Yeah, so there's, thousands of nests, and what are these seabirds that make nests in tunnels that go into the ground, and their tunnels are very deep, so we can't see the birds. So in order to see if they're coming or going from their little tunnels, we put these little toothpicks in front to see if they come and go. We could use electronic devices, but they're very, very expensive. And right now we do have some cameras set up that we go and we have to change the film for it. There are some that we can get the information from via cell phone, but we don't have cell phone service all over. So you have to hike up and down the mountain. And when I say up and down, it's up and down. It's like climbing a ladder. That's how steep it is. So
Yes.
that's a pretty inventive. Now with technology, it's great. I have a graduate student working that's gonna put out what we call song meters. It's recordings of birds. It just sits and it records. And then she's trying to develop what we call an algorithm to identify each species just based on their song, have the computer just go and identify them rapidly.
Oh,
So
neat.
that will help us with our monitoring efforts.
So tell us about with there's a vegetation program at the park, and of course they
Hmm.
deal with all the plants, invasive plant control, and outplanting and growing of native plants. So tell us about how your program works together with that program because they're providing food source for the wildlife that you're protecting, and also the work that
Right.
Timmy does too. I'm hoping that he's going to come and talk to us about it. But can you just talk about how these different programs under resources management really kind of work together to protect the wildlife?
Yeah, it's funny that you say we have all these different programs because when I started back in 1806, we did everything. We were true resource managers. We pulled weeds, we built fences, we killed animals, we counted birds, we did it all. And so it's definitely now people have become specialized in it, and it's there's pluses and minuses to it, but we all have to help each other. For example, if I'm walking along and I see an invasive weed, I'm going to pull it. And
Hmm.
if they're doing their weed surveys and they see um, some unusual looking feces, they'll let us know. And yes, I get paid for looking at poop, walking around looking for poop. So it's all connected. And when Timmy comes and tells you about his work, that's the cornerstone, yeah, of conservation is our conservation fences and feral ungulates
Hmm.
and keeping the large animals out. So that's why it's very challenging now with the deer being so explosive on
Hmm.
Maui.
And they sure can
Yeah,
jump high.
they sure can jump high.
Yeah, speaking of you starting work in 1806 and having to do multiple jobs, I'll do one up on you, and that's when I worked at Hawaii Volcanoes. National Park. And my boss, give a shout out to Larry Katahira, who was
Oh,
natural resources manager. And back in his day, when he was starting out in the Park Service, he went in as like a biologist and, working with wildlife and all that. But he also had to be like a law enforcement ranger too. And,
right,
and
right.
I just crack up because, he's such a nice, easygoing guy. And so in
Mm-hmm.
his entire time of having to do law enforcement as part of his job, I think 7 years, I think he gave out like two citations. So he
But
definitely overlooked a lot.
that was it. When again, in, what did I say, 1827 or whatever it was,
1806.
1806. Yeah, there was no program called resource management. It was under resource protection, it was called.
Mm-hmm. Coming up on this season, nesting season, and then the birds will be fledging later. So what are the messages to visitors that you would like to, and this even extends outside the park, because today, you folks or the Nene is doing so well that they're outside the park, and so
Mm-hmm.
are the uwa'u, the uwa'ukani, and all these
Mm-hmm.
other endangered species. So in general, what are some things that people can do to help
Yeah.
safeguard the Nene during these, really I don't know, fragile times for them?
Yeah, so it's good question. For Nene, the biggest thing people can help with is to remember that, not to remember, but just to know that although they're birds, when you drive up to them, they're not going to fly away. They're going to move slowly across the road. So, slow down
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
when people
mm-hmm,
see a Nene,
mm-hmm.
or any pretty much any big bird, because
Right.
when we're going along at 55 miles an hour, we don't know a big bird. Right? Everybody will stop for a dog or a cat, but birds, we expect them to fly away.
Yeah, like the minor birds, they're a lot quicker.
Yeah, yeah. So that's one thing. When you see the bigger birds, same thing with uwa'u. Sometimes, when they leave the park and they circle around the lights in the towns or by the hotels, they'll kind of get tired and then fall to the ground. And once they get on the ground, they can't move too much because their legs are about that big. They're seabirds. They swim, so they don't walk very quickly. And if anybody does see a bird that they're concerned about, they can call the wildlife office.
Okay, what's that number?
The um,
Uh-oh, test.
test DLNR wildlife. Division of Forestry and Wildlife. They can call them.
Okay, I'll look that up. And there's
Yeah,
another really big thing here too, which is pets. Whether it's cats, keeping your
yeah.
cats indoors, or
Ugh,
keeping your dogs on a leash when you're walking them.
yeah.
Cats. Yeah, cats may
Thanks
not.
for saying that. Because I just want one good thing besides cats being pets. Cats are not wild animals. They're not meant to be wild animals. So any feral, the cats that we see at parks and things like that, they're feral. They're not. They're not meant to be animals living in nature.
Hmm.
They're meant to be pets, and it's a difficult with cats because I love cats, uh, and so do many people. But feeding them in parks is and places like that doesn't help. Doesn't help the cats, and it doesn't help the native species because even a well-fed cat will hunt. That's in
Right.
their nature. And in these areas, because they don't have any predators, they're becoming overpopulated. They're getting sick. They're getting disease. So, instead of feeding a cat at the park, see what you can do to, if you love them so much, take them home, keep them
Right.
indoors. Um, but it's hard. I know it's hard. I know it's hard. And I don't want to diss on any cat lovers at all because again, I love cats.
Well, that's the thing too.
And
If you're not taking them home and really caring for them around the clock, I mean, you don't know what's happening to them outside when you're not
right,
there. And I think a lot of these poor cats get tortured by people. They get attacked by
yes,
dogs or other animals, hit by cars. And so, if you really love the cats, yeah, take them home.
right. And same with dogs, keep them on leashes. I mean, we do have a leash law on Maui.
Mm-hmm.
They're supposed to be on leashes. And if you want to let them wild, wow, the county did a fantastic job in having dog parks.
Mm-hmm. Because a single
That's
dog can really kill a lot of birds.
right. And, they can just, I know my dog likes to go and dig. So a dog running on the beach can go dig up a cunny burrow, or a
Mm-hmm.
turtle nest.
Turtle nest. Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Or just go after uh, a sleeping seal.
Yeah.
Although, I'd feel sorry for that dog. Mhm.
Is there anything new in store for this year for the wildlife program and anything
The big,
innovative and new coming up?
well, our biggest focus is to do what we can to keep the downward trajectory of this population of forest birds. Um, so we're trying to use, as you said, because of pandemic, we can't go in the field as much, but um, to use technology to our advantage, song meters, um, GPS. They have GPSs are so fancy now; they can do so many things rather than just collect a dot on a map. And that not much. There's not much wow innovation in conservation. There's new traps that we use that we don't have to check more often, but there isn't too many. Wow, the biologists that were working on in the field 30 years ago, we're using the same instruments as they are. So
I know you and Timmy spend a lot of time outdoors in the work that you do, but you also are very outdoorsy people, even in your personal lives. And so, how have you been spending your time during the pandemic? What has it changed anything for you folks?
well, yeah, because my husband's home more, so we can go work on the farm more.
What are you farming?
We're trying to grow Christmas trees.
Oh, neat! Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
Because
but the deer are a
oh,
big problem.
well, he knows how to build
And
fences.
oh my gosh, but we don't have money.
Oh, yeah, fences are expensive. That's true.
Oh wait, that's why we work. We work to get money to make fences to get our trees growing.
So he works all day building fences and hunting,
And then
so that he can spend that money to build more fences.
never ending, my poor husband.
No, but that's great because I'm such a big proponent of buying local Christmas trees. And that
Yeah.
stems back to, I've said it on this podcast before, a visit that I took interns to at the plant quarantine station and hearing the story about, shipments of Christmas trees and a bat with rabies almost got out of
Oh,
the container. And had that
right,
happened,
right.
we could have rabies in Hawaii today. And a lot
Exactly.
of things can bring invasive new invasive insects and other species, but Christmas trees I think tend to bring a lot. And if that's
They
something we can grow here, by all means, buy local.
that's exactly Timmy's reason for wanting to do that. Exactly.
Yay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
So
Love it.
the difference between him going out and building fences there and then coming here is that we get to take our daughters with us.
Mm,
So and even our grandson came out with us the other day. He comes out now and
that
is exposed to it. So he's
that's
probably never ever going to want to do it ever again because it's hard work. But at what is it, 4 years old? Here, carry this. Go pound this in.
no, that's an awesome thing that you folks. I didn't know that you folks were doing that, but that's really awesome. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So, how many? I don't know. What do you think your yield could look like? I mean, what's the potential? You think?
Oh, we don't know because it's still experimental, right? So we're not like Hosmer, for Hosmer Grow. It's still experimental. we planted over 600, and we're trying to still see how they're growing, and a lot of them are dying because of the deer. So we kind of scaled back and went, okay, let's think about this over again.
If you have all those deer, you could also go into the meat business and.
Well, okay, so that's what my mother-in-law said. So she has now also a certified kitchen for her dragon fruit because she has a farm, and my daughters know now how much work it is once we get a deer and then we skin it. Get a deer, gut it, skin it, and then prep it and butcher it.
Yeah.
It's hours and hours for one deer. And then if the deer is way down in the gulch, we got to go get it.
Right. Yeah. If you kill it, you have to retrieve it. You can't just there, right?
And so if they go down in the gulch, it's like, man, try to carry a 200-pound deer out of a gulch.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. When you eat the venison, when you eat the meat, you can really appreciate what went into it. Because I was, one time I was given a lot of venison, but I had to clean it. I had to, and it took hours just to clean it and get it to the point where you could now marinate it and get it ready to cook.
Right.
But when you eat it, you can really appreciate that you put a lot of work into that.
That's right. Result. That's right. So, for as far as, and that's one of the challenges we have, not just with our farm here, but with work. People say, well, why don't you capture them, kill them, and give the meat away? It's like, it's not easy. We're not growing them in a little confined area like beef cattle,
right.
Where you go boom, 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 and then butcher, and we don't have a butcher shop and things like that. So, well, we're starting to build one here, but
well, once you do, I'll definitely be patronizing your business there. But yeah, we're gonna wrap up soon. But I think we have to do a part 2 because I know there's so much more that we talk about and. But I really appreciate you being here. And I know you're doing, just really quickly, I know you're doing a detailed in the national park, which is great because we were talking earlier about how long you've been with the National Park Service and retirement could be around the corner. Yeah, but that would be a big loss of institutional knowledge for the park. But I know that you've done a good job of really working with a lot of young people, and we're going to come up after you. But what are you hoping that's going to come up next for you in the National Park Service?
I'm looking on to my next life, pruning my bonsai Christmas trees.
Oh, yeah. Could I order one that's in the shape of like
Sure.
Snoopy or something?
Sure. Anything for you, Kuhea. Okay. Anything for you.
Okay, you go practice.
Yeah, but Snoopy's nose is what it is. Sorry, yeah.
That's okay. I know it was made with love, so I'll just take it.
Well, I just want to give a shout out to you. You've been with conservation, been in and out of the loop, and you and Arlie are doing this fantastic thing of having this podcast. My gosh, on your own. So. Shout out to you, Kuhea.
Oh, thank you so much.
Awesome.
Yeah, and so thanks for bringing us to that because I definitely couldn't do what I'm doing today without Arlie, my husband Arlie, right. Who is behind the camera, does all the editing, and it's a labor of love for him. And yeah, so it's the perks of marriage.
Yeah,
so.
See, I get goosebumps. You can see I'm wearing long sleeves.
But no, shout out to you too for everything that you've done and all the years that you've put into conservation and being really a pioneer. Thanks. And like I said, you were the one that we looked up to as undergraduates and like, wow, look at her. I want to be her, and it was really awesome to witness that and to kind of follow in those footsteps. Thanks again, and let's have you back on again sometime soon, okay? And then we'll get Timmy on here too. And I want to thank our producers, the Riff Wailuku, Arlie and Brian. Thanks for bringing our show to everybody today, and thanks to all of our viewers. And we enjoy bringing this show to you. And please subscribe because we want to bring even more topics and awesome conservation folks to tell you about what they do. And yeah, hit that subscribe button, and we'd appreciate it. Aloha,
Okay.
everyone, and thanks,
Aloha.
Kathleen. Have a great rest of the year. Aloha. Aloha. I'm shoot, I gotta start over. Aloha and welcome to this. See, because it's okay. Okay.
Just like you never did this
I
before. Huh?
I know. Okay.
Okay, sorry.
Okay. Okay.